This week on the show, we have Bill Carlin from Racklify. What the heck is Racklify? Bill's going to explain it much better than I can, but if you are looking for warehouse space, this episode's for you. All right, let's get right into it. Bill is an Eagles fan, and since we're releasing this just a few days before the Super Bowl, Bill also has a prediction as to the outcome of this year's 2025 Super Bowl. So stay tuned for that. Here we go.
Welcome to the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast.
All right, Bill, welcome to the show. We're talking about Racklify. Can you please, for our viewers and listeners, give us a short introduction?
Yeah, so my name's Bill. I'm the CMO of Racklify, but by day I'm also the COO of Shipmate Fulfillment. So I've been running a 3PL for 10 years now and decided that there needs to be a change in the way we're doing 3PL sales and lead gen. So I developed a tech solution called Racklify that helps connect merchants with their ideal match in 3PL.
See, and this is when I was surfing your website, I'm going, God, I thought he sold racks, but no, this is a service.
Yeah.
Really?
I got that a few times, but it does have the rack and the lift in it with the Latin suffix "ifi," like to become. So that's kind of where it came from, is to become a rack or a lift.
So explain the service that you are offering. What is it that you do?
So what we do is we're the largest database of 3PLs online. We just launched 6 months ago into beta, and we launched our public release back on the 6th. So we're about 2 weeks into actual public launch. So what we do is we go out, we find a bunch of 3PLs, we collect all the data, all the information on them. What kind of products do they handle? What kind of products don't they handle? How big is their facility? Where is it located? What's their geographic footprint look like? What kind of carriers they use? And compile all that information into one place. So that way, when a merchant, say an Amazon seller or a Shopify seller, or even a physical retailer is looking for space, they can go to one place, compare the 3PLs, and can, right there on the site, exchange with the 3PLs and find their ideal match. So it's been a venture trying to get 3PLs on here. So now we have the store stocked, and we're looking for merchants to get on there and really grow that side of things. And then I want to touch on it briefly, but what applies to you guys is we also have a transportation section on Racklify, which is going to be a huge project of ours probably in the second quarter, trying to recruit trucking companies, owner operators, and also bring them into the platform.
So if I could say it another way, is this true? I've got some merchandise and I've run out of warehouse space and I need some place to store it. So if I need some place to store it, I can go to Racklify, find a empty rack space if you want, and make the arrangements to store at a 3PL?
Yeah, so that's exactly it. So whether you need additional space, or you're looking to change warehousing providers or whatever, we have a 3PL that can fit basically every need, from pharma to cold storage to industrial. You name it, everything from supplements and clothing all the way up to tires and chemicals.
All right. And before we get any further, I got to say to the audience here, we are doing the recording. Not sure when this is going to be released, but the recording is 2 weeks before Super Bowl. And you can see Bill has his team jersey on, just to throw that in there.
Yeah. After 55-23, you cannot not wear the jersey the next day.
So there you go. At the time of release, if this is after the Super Bowl for 2025, we don't know whether Bill's crying or just ecstatically beside himself.
You can use your imagination. Either way, it'll be in front of my shrine to Nick Foles. So
there you go.
We'll see how it goes.
All right, so I just had to throw that out there. But let's get back to Racklify. So very shortly, so we're in the first quarter of 2025. You said about the second quarter of 25, you're going to be looking for transportation companies as well.
Yeah, so we're gonna start putting our marketing efforts into recruiting transportation providers for the platform. So right now, the transportation section is live. Right, you can sign up as a trucking company, an owner operator, and get a profile. It's absolutely free. And start advertising your services. But in the second quarter, we're going to start marketing more towards trucking companies, transportation companies, ocean freight, air cargo, and start go that direction.
Hmm.
See? So John, you've been quiet so far, but
Well, yeah, well, because there's something I'm seeing here. My little wheels are spinning here. So,
Yeah.
I think this is a great opportunity here because you're not only trying to connect with 3PLs on their warehouse space and their ability to distribute your goods on your behalf, but you could also use this as a distribution type process, I'm assuming, where maybe my product is going to the four corners of the US. So rather than going to just one 3PL, I could be using 3PLs, four different 3PLs in those four different corners to distribute my product.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that do something similar to that. So there's a lot of large 3PLs. Usually they have very high quality requirements for the multi-location services, but there are 3PLs that have even upwards of 100, 200 locations. But there
Okay.
are also smaller family-run 3PLs that sometimes will work together.
Hmm.
But a lot of companies, what will end up happening is, let's say you're out on the East Coast, you have a manufacturing place, you're shipping your own goods, but now you don't want to mail that all the way to California, so you'll go fill in the gaps of your own logistics puzzle by getting a 3PL provider in California. Maybe you get one
Hmm.
in Texas, maybe eventually you get one in Chicago, and you really lower the zones that you're shipping to, and
Hmm.
it really reduces your freight costs and your parcel cost.
Sure.
not that freight costs are very expensive. We're in the trucking industry. I mean,
Yeah.
hey,
They're just a few $1,000s.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, just to
Uh,
fuel up one of these tractors nowadays, holy jumping.
yeah,
Yep,
Um,
exactly.
it's just, it's going to be amazing. And before we hit the record button, we were talking about the new political era. And so we really, at least I can speak for myself. I'm not smart enough to know what's going to happen in 6 months' time um, to logistics and everything. But if I was, you mentioned Amazon or Shopify.
Mhm.
mhm.
Can you do last mile deliveries or transportation? Is that something you're looking to get into as well?
Yeah. So last mile is part of our transportation category. So we do the sprinter van type deals and last mile logistics. A lot of 3PLs also specialize in last mile, especially the ones in large metros. So some 3PLs actually own their own fleet and do their
Hmm.
own fulfillment. There's quite a large array of things. Last mile is like the hot new thing that everybody's doing. I think it's, is it Grubhub now that just got out of the
Mm.
whole last mile courier
Mhm.
business? One of them did. One of the food delivery apps
Yeah.
stopped their last mile service. But it's something everybody's talking about. There's news about it every week.
Hmm. Yeah, lots happening in that area by all means. Can this platform you got, can it be reversed to the point where 3PLs could also look at clients that may fit their warehousing setup?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we're currently tackling. At the moment, we have what's known as an RFP. So if you're
Mm.
a merchant, you fill out a request for proposal. And what this
Mhm.
is think about it like if you went to college, you probably did the Common App, right? So it
Mhm.
was one application that applied to 2,000 colleges, right? You could just send it to every one of them,
Right,
they all accepted it. We
right.
have the same idea. So what we did is we built one of the most comprehensive RFPs in the industry, where you can fill that out. You can send it to any warehouse on our platform. You can download it, take it to your own provider, take it, out of market, wherever you want, and you can shop for a 3PL. Now, what's
Cool.
really cool is that the 3PLs can reverse this process. And
Right.
assuming you have your account set to public, right,
Yep.
saying that you're searching for a 3PL, 3PLs can see your RFP and can, reach out to you and try to win your business.
Sure.
Now, there's other things we have in development for how we're going to be sourcing leads and, starting to do a lot of that lead gen and development for the 3PLs
Mhm.
themselves. But I don't want to spoil too much of
Sure,
that.
sure. No, no, don't give away all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh no, this is a relatively new platform, correct? Racklify?
Yes. So we just launched into beta back in July. At
mhm,
that point, we were heavily invested in recruiting 3PLs because obviously you need 3PLs to drive
right.
merchants too if you're going to start marketing the merchants.
Sure.
So back on the 6th, we did a big press release and started directing our attention to merchants.
Mhm.
So now the majority of our outreach and marketing attempts are aimed at the merchants.
Hmm. Cool.
And that, as you said, is going to change in the coming months as you try to um, bring in or recruit, whatever the correct term is, more transportation providers.
Yeah, so like I said, we have basically three core categories the way I see it. The first is obviously the warehouses and the 3PLs, which is our bread and butter. That's, you know, an industry that I'm very familiar with, have a lot of experience in. And then we also have the merchants, right? So your, like I said, your e-commerce sellers, your retailers, and then we also have service providers. So think everything that's kind of needed in that logistics puzzle, right? So transportation is a big one, but so is packaging, right?
Mhm.
So is software, so is consulting, right? So we're really trying to tackle all those other areas in the next coming months in order to really become what we're calling a logistics hub, right? We want to be the place where people come when they are missing a piece of their logistics puzzle and want to find it, right? Because people spend thousands of dollars and fly all over the world to go to these trade shows and spend $5,000 on a booth for 10 people to walk by and shake their hand.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
you can for free sign up for a website where we're getting thousands of visitors spending 6, 7, 8 minutes on the site, which is really good for any
Mhm.
kind of platform. And you can reach thousands of people by just putting up a listing. So it's really, we're trying to bring everybody together in the one place and centralize where you can find logistics providers because the market is so disjointed. I mean, every day I'm on LinkedIn and some guy posts, hey, I need warehouse space, and
Mhm.
he'll get 96 responses, and the guys will have like a feeding frenzy on it. And it's a market that's really right now just done by consultants. And
Right.
we want to empower people and democratize the access to warehouses, trucking companies,
Mhm.
packaging companies, and everything that is part of your logistics puzzle because logistics is usually like a third of your business costs. And a lot of people
Mhm.
that don't know that, right? Like you might pay $2 for the thing in China, but you pay $10 to ship it to your end customer,
Mhm.
and you got
Mhm.
another $2 in storage and a pick and pack
Mhm.
fee, and then it
Mhm.
gets returned, and you got reverse logistics.
Yeah.
So people don't understand that logistics is about a third of your business. So it's really important that it's something you prioritize, you take seriously, and you get it right the first time.
Well,
No, no
and
doubt.
if you didn't get it right the first time, you better fix it or you're going to be out of business because your competitors will
Yep.
fix theirs quick.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's an ever evolving situation, right? There's the emergence of regional carriers, if you guys are familiar with that.
Mhm.
So, like, it used to be, hey, I ship it with FedEx, I ship it with UPS.
Yep.
Now you got guys like Laser Ship, you got guys like
Mhm.
Lone Star down in Texas.
Yep.
You got
Yep.
all these emerging smaller carriers on top of the last mile, stuff
Yep.
like VO and you know. So there's a lot more options than what there was, and a lot more
Mhm.
providers. And after COVID, you had this whole warehousing boom. So we
Mhm.
went from just a couple thousand 3PLs to now estimates say there might be 10,000 3PLs just in the U.S. alone.
Wow. Wow.
So we're now in a place where there's lots and lots of options, and that's good for competition. It's good for driving down prices. It's good for the merchant, who in this case is the consumer. But at the same time, it also means that you have to be more careful than ever when you're making these choices and making these decisions.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was going to say one of the things that was very prominent years ago was the just-in-time freight movement, and you kind of scratch your head down and go, I'm not seeing so much of the just-in-time. Might be product specific, but you drive down a major highway and you're seeing more warehouses pop up, big storage facilities popping up. So it tells you, okay, there's more people building more product, or you know what, I'm getting ahead of the game and I'm starting to stockpile for the later date, because I've got such high demand for my product. Um, is that what we're seeing? Is we're seeing a lessening of the just in time and more of this? I need to have stuff on hand, or I need to distribute it into different areas.
So the incentive structure is not there for just in time anymore.
Hmm.
So with e-commerce, everything's tech driven. So since it's tech driven, they're constantly collecting data. And one of the most important things in that data collection process is what's known as sales velocity. So a stock out now can actually kill a product. So imagine if you're taking an average of how many things you sell a day over a month. If 3 of those days become a zero because your just in time truck shipment didn't arrive,
Hmm.
it's going to really hurt those averages, and it's really going to hurt that velocity.
Sure.
And in real time, Amazon, Walmart, all these platforms are going to adjust and say his sales plummeted, right?
Hmm.
And you're going to get less and less placement, less and less organic traffic, and
Sure.
you're going to become more and more reliant on ads, which is going to cost more money in the long run,
Hmm.
right? To get that
Hmm.
velocity going again. So that's why people are kind of turning away from the just in time freight movement and pushing more towards, well, we don't want to stock out because we don't want to get penalized and we don't want to oversell.
Hmm.
And the repercussions of not having the stock are actually
Right.
greater than the repercussions of having a bunch of stuff sit around.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and you know what? I think that's very, very prevalent today. Taking the example of Amazon, for instance, I go online, I click a product I want, and it's at my doorstep within the next day or so,
Sure.
right?
Mhm.
Large manufacturing facilities are wanting to do the same thing, whereas, hey, I need a truckload of those widgets to complete the machinery component that I'm building here. Yeah, just just go and let them know that we need another shipment and we'll have it here tomorrow because they've got stock. Versus somebody going, yeah, we got to make that, and that'll be 2 weeks before we get it made, and it's going to be another 4 days to get it delivered. So, and now all of a sudden it's backed up my whole production line.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too. And now, like I said, you also have more competition,
Yeah.
right? So since there's more competition in the space, there's more options. When I got into this 10 years ago, it was actually because we had a bad experience using a 3PL. And this was at like the dawn
Mhm.
of, the whole Amazon boom. And
Right.
we had a bad experience where we sent a bunch of stuff out. The storage was high, the fees were high, and there wasn't really anywhere else to go because you'd call six, seven, eight of these places and
Mhm.
you'd have to find one that's empty and that would be willing to take you.
Mhm.
And once we had that experience, we started our own 3PL and started selling the service and never looked back since. But
Cool.
it's one of those deals where, when I look back 10 years ago, it wasn't uncommon to pay $40 to store a pallet somewhere or
Right.
$35 a month to store a pallet somewhere.
Mhm.
Nowadays, you can do one Google search, you can find 15 empty warehouses that will fight over storing that pallet, right? It's like the whole Uber Freight and like the owner
Yeah.
operator thing now. Now
Right.
that you have
Right.
access to these owner operators, and these owner operators can market directly to you or go
Yep.
through an app like Uber Freight and contract it out, you have a race to the bottom on freight prices too.
Yeah.
It used
Yep.
to be you call the carrier or you call your broker, they tell you what the price is, and you nod your head and say, "Okay, if it's that price, that's what it is." Now
Mhm.
there's so many apps, there's so many
Yeah.
places where these trucking companies, owner operators, and all that are listed that you can actually do a pretty good job of sourcing a low rate if you have the time and energy to go out there and
Mhm.
compare.
Mhm.
And low rates. John and I are both in the safety side of things of trucking, and
Hmm.
low rates do not usually help trucking companies run safe. So
No,
it just
no,
it's
not at all.
it's counter. So, yeah, no, this is interesting. Um, I'm just trying to wrap my head around how to use Racklify. So, if I was a new customer, can you describe? I'm a new customer with stuff I need stored. How would I go
Mhm.
about um, using Racklify?
Yeah, so there's really two ways you can use Racklify. The first is um, it's like Zillow, right? So if you've ever used Zillow or one of those housing sites, you can just go on there in your spare time and scroll and check things out and casually browse till something catches your eye, and then you can engage with it, right? Because we don't gatekeep any of the information for these companies, right? We're not trying to prevent you from reaching out to them outside the site or anything like that. So you're free to open and engage and explore. But the other side of the thing is really that RFP process that I was talking about. If you're serious about finding a 3PL and you know you're going to make a switch, or you're going to look for an additional facility, or you're going to get into 3PL for the first time, what you can do is fill out that RFP. It's going to help you think about the things that matter to you and your business. And it's going to give you a nice document that you're able to present to 3PLs. And they're going to want to give you rates. Because a large thing that we see in the 3PL industry is everybody wants rates, right? Oh, what's your rate? Oh, how you just give me the price, right? And the thing is, these prices are determined by a lot of things. It's determined by volume, it's determined by how much are you storing, it's determined by what type of product you have, right? I'm going to charge you a lot more to store a dresser and move it around than I'm going to charge you to store a phone case, right? Or ship a phone case. So all these things come into the equation. And if you don't have enough information, it's hard to quote these things. So what we did is, like I said to you, we created an RFP process where you fill that out, and it's pretty much applicable to all 3,000 warehouses on our platform, and you can get rates from any of them. And that's going to help you make a decision because one, you're going to know that they take your product type, they saw what your product type is, they saw what your volume is, right? So there's no fit issues.
Mhm.
And you're also getting rates. So it's allowing you to capitalize on both the important aspects of fit and rates rather than one versus the other.
And honestly, I think that makes an awful lot of sense for somebody who's in need of some storage facilities, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, um, just to kind of wrap this up, is there a last word before I do have another question for you? But is there a last word? Did we cover everything that you wanted to get out about Racklify?
Yeah, I'm just out here trying to spread the gospel and
Yep.
let people know about this new and exciting tool we have. Especially with your podcast, I really want to emphasize to the owner operators out there
Mhm.
that Racklify can be a great tool because I know a lot of these guys are out here. They're using Facebook as their website, right? I get a lot of those guys, and we have the ability to let you list your trucking specific information and give you a
Cool.
professional page that you can direct your customers to, and they can message with you directly in platform. So this can be a great way to not just get like a backlink, but also, if you're not tech savvy, you're not going to build your own website, get you a place where you can connect with people that are looking for your services,
Mhm.
and you can direct people to show that you have a professional brand.
Sure.
All right. So I did say I had one more question for you, Bill,
Yep.
and I
Ooh.
hope you won't take too much offense to this. But what's going to be the score 2 weeks from now at the Super Bowl of 2025?
Well, it depends on the level of ref involvement here, because we know there's going to be a lot of yellow flags, but I have faith. I don't see the Chiefs scoring over 20. So my
Okay.
prediction right now is 28-17 Eagles.
Hmm.
Oh, all right. So you heard it
You heard
here
it here.
first.
Yep.
All right. On the Trucking Risk and Insurance podcast, Bill from Racklify said 28-17. Was that it?
Yep. Yep.
28-17. Yep,
For the Eagles. The
for
Eagles
the
are going to come
Eagles.
out on top. So,
Yep.
Yep.
and as I say, Bill, jokingly, this episode will be released just about Super Bowl Sunday. So, uh, I'll see if I
We'll
can't get it.
revisit it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll see if I
Unfortunately.
can't do this just before Super Bowl, and then the audience can leave us a comment. One, whether you like Bill's team or not. Um, two, was he right with his prediction? And three, just give Bill a thumbs up in the comments. Let him know your thoughts
Yeah.
about Super Bowl, because obviously he is a big NFL fan. How long you been a fan of NFL?
I've been an Eagles fan my entire life. They're I have all the jerseys, I have everything, and it's been a good time because
Cool.
as long as I've been alive, the Eagles have been pretty good. I mean, since the year '99, I think they've been pretty good, and before that, I couldn't walk or talk, so
Yep.
we're good.
Well,
There you go.
Uh,
you're speaking to a newer NFL fan. The last, I mean,
yeah,
because I'm a Canadian and the closest team, of course, is the Bills. It's been the last few years that the Bills have been worth cheering for,
yeah,
including this year and unfortunately this year. You know, but and other than that, I am I guess a Blue Jays fan next
Blue
would
Jays.
Mm.
be, you
Mhm.
know, I do like watching the Jays. Anyways, we're way off topic here.
Yeah,
We were talking about Racklify. 28-17 is the prediction from
that's the
Bill.
prediction.
Yep.
All right.
Lock it
And
in. Call
Eagles
Vegas.
on top. I'm going to
Can
get
take
this
it to the
out.
bank.
I'm going to get this episode out before. I'm going to
Yeah.
have to delay some, I think, because I'm going to get this out before Super Bowl, just so
Uh,
we can all see what the heck's going on. Bill
There you
from
go.
Racklify, for all of you watching and listening, Bill's contact info is in the show notes down below. You can reach out directly to Bill to find out more about Racklify. The website information is down um, in the show notes below. Bill, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you,
yeah,
Bill.
thank you, Chris and John. It was a pleasure. Real great time talking to you guys, and go Birds.
Go Birds. There you go.
And thanks, Bill, you Eagle fan, for coming on the show. I don't know if you are crying or celebrating at the results of the Super Bowl. We will have to wait to find out. It's in a few days, and I'm looking forward to watching it myself. What did you think, our audience? What did you think about Racklify and about Bill's comments of the Super Bowl? You can leave us a comment for either one, and it's right over there. Click like and subscribe. Johnny and I appreciate you all watching very much. Have a great week. See you next week.